As I entered the small, dimly lit examination room, clipboard clutched tightly in my hand, I could feel my heart racing slightly faster than normal. Although I had assisted with patient exams before, there was an unsettling quality to this particular assignment that left me feeling slightly off balance. In my role as a nurse at a bustling downtown clinic, I had encountered a myriad of situations, yet what was about to transpire with Mr. Thomas Hale was an experience I had never anticipated. He was a reserved individual in his early 50s, often preferring solitude. He arrived for his regular blood pressure and cardiac evaluations, nothing out of the ordinary. Having aided him in the past, today carried an unmistakable weight from the instant I entered the room. He sat upright on the bed, his posture rigid and filled with uncertainty. His gaze flitted about the room, and he squirmed awkwardly beneath the flimsy hospital gown. "Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas Hale," I said softly, a gentle smile gracing my lips as I entered the room. "Are you feeling well today?" He nodded swiftly, yet I could perceive the discomfort lurking in his gaze. There was an unsettling feeling in the air. I moved closer, ready to assist him in preparing for the exam, adjusting the monitoring equipment and smoothing out his gown with a careful touch. Yet, as I shifted, an unforeseen sight caught my eye through the delicate material. My eyes were drawn downward, capturing the unmistakable silhouette concealed within the drapery of the gown. I paused for a moment. My cheeks burned, and I swiftly averted my gaze, silently urging myself to maintain my composure. I served as a nurse. I had undergone training for those uncomfortable moments. Occasionally, such events unfold. It was merely a study of anatomy. Yet, the manner in which it revealed itself, so abrupt and unforeseen, unsettled me more than I had anticipated. "Let's proceed to get you situated for the doctor," I remarked, clearing my throat as I reached once more to smooth the sheet. Yet, as I advanced, he adjusted once more, this time with an unsettling swiftness. The gown's edge slipped away entirely, all was laid bare. I inhaled sharply, instinctively swiveling my head, striving to regain my poise. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Should I bring it up? Shall we depart from this space? Act as if nothing occurred? Just as I was about to make my choice, the door behind me let out a haunting creak as it opened. "My apologies, I didn't intend to intrude." A voice emerged, another nurse, peering in through the doorway. She blinked once, an unmistakable awareness flickering in her eyes, then swiftly withdrew, drawing the door closed behind her. I glanced back at Mr. Thomas Hale, whose expression now bore the weight of mortification. He rushed to shield himself, yet the palpable tension lingered heavily in the atmosphere. His cheeks burned with a deep crimson hue as he cast his gaze downward, deliberately steering clear of any eye contact. Apologies escaped his lips in a hushed tone, laden with regret. I inhaled deeply, seeking to reclaim my composure. "It's perfectly fine. Shall we prepare you for your upcoming exam, then?" As I reached for fresh linens and supplies, a sudden sensation coursed through me as his hand lightly grazed mine. I found myself paralyzed once more. It felt light, almost serendipitous, yet the way it lingered compelled me to ponder if it was genuinely a misstep or an unvoiced invitation. My skin tingled, and for a fleeting moment, I remained utterly motionless, unsure of how to react. My professional instinct urged me to disregard it and proceed, yet my intuition cautioned me to tread carefully. At that moment, the door swung open once more. At this moment, it was Dr. Mason Carter, blissfully ignorant of the events that had just unfolded. "Is everything okay in here?" He entered with a cheerful demeanor, flipping through the patient chart. "Indeed, doctor," I replied hastily, moving out of the way. "Mr. Thomas Hale is prepared." I chose not to glance behind me. I found myself compelled to leave the confines of the room. As the doctor commenced his customary inquiries, I slipped away silently, my heart still pounding. The door clicked shut behind me, yet the unease lingered in the air. Later that afternoon, while I was diligently making my usual rounds and updating charts, my phone vibrated with a notification from the front desk. "Mr. Thomas Hale has made a specific request for Nurse Jenna to attend to him during tomorrow's follow-up." I gazed at the message, a knot forming in my stomach. Why am I the one? Had I erred in some way? Could it be that I had stumbled upon something I was never meant to witness? Or had something more profound begun to take hold? The following day arrived more swiftly than I had anticipated. Once more, I stood before Mr. Thomas Hale's door, inhaling deeply before raising my hand to knock. I reminded myself to maintain composure, professionalism, and a sense of detachment. Yet, as the door creaked open and our gazes locked, a wave of unease washed over me once more. This time, his smile was different. It lacked the shy, embarrassed quality that had marked his expression the day before. It exuded a sense of difference, marked by confidence and control. He spoke gently, "I've been thinking about you." My heart fluttered before I managed a soft laugh. "Let's concentrate on your checkup, Mr. Thomas Hale," I stated with conviction, striving to steer the dialogue back on course. Yet, as I approached his foreline, my mind surged with a flurry of thoughts. A sense of unease lingered in the air, and beneath the surface, an unsettling sensation stirred within me, whispering that this was merely the prologue. The following morning, I entered the clinic with a resolute intention to maintain my distance. The day before had cast a shadow of unease over me. I continually reminded myself that I was overanalyzing the situation, that perhaps Mr. Thomas Hale was merely awkward and embarrassed, and I was allowing it all to cloud my thoughts. Yet, the memory of his request lingered in my mind. He had explicitly requested my presence once more, and that smile, it truly existed beyond the confines of my imagination. I occupied myself with other patients, attending to morning vitals and the necessary paperwork. At approximately 10 a.m., the front desk summoned me once more, informing me that Mr. Thomas Hale was prepared in exam room 3. "He has requested your presence specifically." My stomach churned. I seized my chart and squared my shoulders. This time, I would ensure that nothing remained ambiguous. I would adopt a straightforward approach, maintaining a certain detachment if required. Simply endure it. As I entered the room, I found Mr. Thomas Hale sitting upright, once more clad in a hospital gown. He appeared at ease, perhaps overly so. His hands rested neatly in his lap, and his expression remained a mystery. "Greetings of the morning." I offered him a quick greeting, aiming to maintain a sense of efficiency. "Allow me to prepare you." He smiled at me once more, that familiar disquieting assurance gleaming in his eyes. "It brings me joy that it is you." I came to a halt. "Today, let us turn our attention to your well-being." He remained silent as I drew near, fiddling with his foretubing and glancing at the monitor. I maintained a precise demeanor, ensuring that I did not tarry. As I leaned in just a bit to adjust the cuff on his arm, he spoke once more, his voice low and almost conspiratorial. "Your presence has been on my mind lately." My jaw tightened. "Mr. Thomas Hale, my purpose is to support your care, rather than partake in personal discussions." He offered a subtle smile, as if he had anticipated that very response. His gaze tracked my every move with an unnerving intensity. In an instant, the door swung open. I almost leaped, a wave of relief washing over me as another person entered the room. Yet, my sense of relief was fleeting. The doctor was not the one. A woman in her mid-40s stood before me, her sharp features accentuated by her polished attire, distinctly not in scrubs. With determination, she entered, her eyes sweeping across the space. Her gaze fixed on me for a moment before drifting toward Mr. Thomas Hale. Her voice carried a serene quality, yet it was laced with tension. "Have I stumbled upon something in progress?" Mr. Thomas Hale's expression wavered ever so slightly. "Absolutely not." I sat up, my heart racing. "I was merely wrapping things up. I shall take my leave and allow you both some privacy." I glided past her, escaping into the hallway before she had the chance to utter another word. With the door clicking shut, I released a sharp breath. The image of the woman lingered in my thoughts, her intense gaze and measured voice resonating within me. That was his beloved spouse. I was already certain of it, without the need for any validation. She was aware, or at the very least, she had an inkling of something amiss. At the nurse's station, I made an effort to banish the encounter from my thoughts. Yet, I found myself unable to shake off the image of her gaze, as if she had uncovered a secret hidden within that room, one that was never meant for her eyes. I found myself uncertain, caught in the liminal space between having escaped a perilous situation and having fled from an experience steeped in embarrassment. As the afternoon wore on, I found myself immersed in the task of organizing files when another message arrived. Mr. Thomas Hale has requested your presence once more tomorrow. He seeks your assistance during the follow-up examination. My gaze lingered on the screen, a sense of disbelief washing over me. I needed to bring this to a halt. I approached the lead nurse, Dana, and inquired whether another nurse could be assigned to Mr. Thomas Hale for the following day. He appears to be a touch too at ease, I remarked with caution. I would appreciate a bit of distance. Dana's brow furrowed in discontent. We find ourselves a bit short tomorrow, yet I shall explore what options are available. I found no comfort in the situation. The following day dawned more swiftly than I had wished. I reviewed the roster. My name lingered beside Thomas Hale's. With a deep breath, I steeled myself for what lay ahead. This time, I was stepping in not merely as a nurse. I approached the situation with clear boundaries in mind. I was prepared to articulate those distinctly. Upon my entrance into the room, he was already there, awaiting my arrival. The atmosphere carried a distinct quality this time. He did not wear a smirk. He was far from relaxed. He gazed out the window, his hands tightly clenched in his lap. I wanted to talk to you, he said quietly, not turning around. I remained rooted at the threshold. Concerning what matter? He gradually pivoted his head, locking his gaze with mine. Regarding the events that transpired earlier, I remained in my position, maintaining a steady tone. I am at your service, Mr. Thomas Hale, ready to provide the care you need. If there are other matters to address, they ought to be directed towards the administration. He slowly shook his head. There's no need for pretense. I am certain you experienced it as well. A shiver slithered down my spine. I believe there has been a misunderstanding, I stated with conviction. What you believe occurred did not take place. He inclined his body ever so slightly, drawing nearer. You chose to stay the first time. At that moment, the door let out a soft creak as it opened once more. It was not the physician. It was she, his beloved wife. She entered with a soft tread, her gaze flitting around the room before settling on me, and then on him. What is happening in this moment? She inquired with an air of nonchalance. I paused for a moment, stepping back to gain perspective. I was on the verge of departure. As I strolled by her and exited through the door, I sensed her gaze trailing me, piercing like shards of glass. Within the corridor, I inhaled deeply, unaware that I had been holding my breath all along. A profound unease settled within me, an ominous whisper suggesting that this was far from finished. The remainder of that shift was akin to traversing a thick, enveloping fog. As I walked past the corridor adjacent to exam room 3, a familiar tension gripped me, anticipation swirling within as I braced for the potential return of Mr. Thomas Hale, or, even more daunting, his wife. I maintained my concentration, immersed in charts, vitals, and patient check-ins, striving to mask the unease that simmered just beneath the surface. Yet it was. The image of his gaze lingered in my mind, the weight of his words echoing, and the unsettling tranquility in his wife's voice as she entered and inquired about the unfolding scene haunted me. The persistent notification on my work tablet was unrelenting. Mr. Thomas Hale has requested your presence for his upcoming visit. It lingered like an unshakable shadow. As the day drew to a close, fatigue enveloped me. As I clocked out, I made my way to the staff exit, a sense of anticipation swelling within me to escape the confines of the building and inhale the crisp, refreshing air outside. Yet, as I turned the corner, there he was. Mr. Thomas Hale stood poised by the double doors, his coat draped over him, anticipation hanging in the air. I halted in my tracks. I just wanted to talk, he said, his voice dropping to a more relaxed tone, as if we were simply two friends catching up after a long day at work. I surveyed my surroundings. A handful of nurses strolled by the nurses' station, yet none appeared to take notice. Mr. Thomas Hale, this is not suitable. He advanced with measured intent. There's no need for fear in my presence. I feel no fear. I was not truthful, yet I find myself in a state of discomfort. You have overstepped your bounds. Just as I was about to depart, a voice resonated from behind me. Jenna. It was Mark, a member of the junior staff from the radiology department. He waved, a smile gracing his face. I instinctively turned back toward him, thankful for the diversion. When I finally turned back, Mr. Thomas Hale had already retreated, his expression a complete enigma. Once more, he whispered softly. Silently, I departed, leaving no words behind. The following day, I reiterated to Dana my need for someone else to assume responsibility for Mr. Thomas Hale's care. She assured me she would explore possible solutions, yet given our limited staffing, my hopes remained low. I steered clear of his hallway altogether, seeking refuge in other spaces, striving to restore a semblance of normalcy. That afternoon, amidst a brief respite in the staff room, a message appeared on my tablet. Patient Thomas Hale is seeking the assistance of Nurse Jenna. Immediate attention required. A wave of nausea washed over me. I came perilously close to hitting the delete button. It was nearly overlooked. Yet, I refrained. With determination, I secured my badge, adjusted my scrubs, and headed back to room 3. If he dared to make another move, I would put an end to it without hesitation. Upon entering the room, I anticipated that he would begin to speak immediately. He did not. Mr. Thomas Hale perched on the edge of the bed, gazing out the window once more, his expression graver than it had been previously. I need to speak with you, he said, his gaze averted. I maintained a balanced tone. Concerning your well-being? Negative. What transpired? I lingered close to the entrance. Mr. Thomas Hale, I have already provided an explanation. He pivoted, interrupting me abruptly. Do you really believe you're the sole one in a state of confusion? I blinked, surprised and unprepared. I have no desire to engage in games, he remarked, gradually standing up. Yet, one cannot overlook the undeniable presence of something significant in this moment. No one has been informed. That holds significance. I am endeavoring to maintain a sense of professionalism. I lost my composure. He advanced, yet I remained steadfast. In an instant, he lunged forward and seized my wrist. Don't, I insisted, yanking my arm back without hesitation. A subtle smile graced his lips. Surely, you won't breathe a word of this to anyone, will you? For you understand the appearance this will take on. At that moment, the door creaked once more. There, just beyond the threshold, partially cloaked in shadow, stood his wife. She had lingered long enough to catch a whisper of something. Her expression was frigid, utterly inscrutable. Silence enveloped her as she fixed her gaze, unblinking. I retreated swiftly, exiting the room without casting another look at either of them. My heart raced with such intensity that it felt as though it might burst from my chest. Uncertainty clouded my mind regarding what Mrs. Thomas Hale had overheard. Her beliefs remained a mystery to me, yet I sensed that a shift had occurred. As the evening wore on and I prepared to depart the clinic for the final time that night, my gaze fell upon her once more, Mrs. Thomas Hale, poised at the front desk. I need a word, she said, her voice low yet unwavering. After a moment of uncertainty, I gave a slight nod. She guided me into a modest, well-worn office tucked away down the hall. As the door clicked shut, she pivoted to confront me, her arms folded defiantly. I am aware of your actions concerning my husband. My heart sank. Indeed, madam, it is not as you perceive it. Don't lie, she snapped. I have observed the glances he casts your way, and the manner in which you react. I have not engaged in any inappropriate behavior, I asserted, striving to maintain my composure. You're not the first, she said with an icy demeanor, but you can certainly be the last. And with that, she departed, leaving me standing there in solitude, the air thick with unspoken words. The boundaries had faded, the regulations had shifted, and whatever this was, it was far from finished. The subsequent days unfolded in a haze of anxiety and vigilance. I lingered in the distant corners of the clinic, steering clear of exam room 3 altogether. I adjusted my break schedules solely to maintain my distance from Mr. Thomas Hale and his wife. Yet, the burden of what had transpired lingered within me, an unshakable presence. Her warning reverberated in my thoughts, reminiscent of a relentless ticking clock. Yet, nothing could have equipped me for what unfolded thereafter. The hour was late, and the majority of the staff had departed for the day. As I wrapped up the paperwork by the nurse's station, my gaze fell upon Mr. Thomas Hale, standing solitary at the end of the hall, patiently waiting. My breath was momentarily suspended. He was not meant to be present any longer. His checkups had come to an end. What was it that kept him hanging around? I rose to my feet, prepared to make my exit through the rear door. Yet, as I rounded the bend, he advanced toward me. "Jenna," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, tinged with a weariness that suggested a deeper burden. "I wish to have a conversation. It seems we've reached the limits of our discourse." I responded swiftly, attempting to navigate around him. Yet he obstructed my way with a gentle touch, not with aggression, but just enough to compel my attention. "She had a conversation with you, didn't she?" he inquired. I inclined my head, maintaining an upright stance. "Indeed, she did. I believe it would be wise to put an end to this before it escalates into something more troubling." Yet, rather than retreating, he offered a smile, slow and disquieting. "She remains blissfully unaware of the full extent." In that moment, I sensed it once more, the palpable tension, the lurking danger. In an instant, he lunged forward and seized my wrist. "Release me." I broke free, pulling myself away with a sudden jerk. "This constitutes harassment." "You won't report me," he stated with an air of tranquility, "because you understand exactly how this will unfold. It's your assertion versus my claim." My lips parted to speak, yet I hesitated, for there, lurking just beyond the shadows of the hallway, stood his wife. She had listened to it all. The hallway fell into an unexpected chill, enveloped in silence. Mr. Thomas Hale stood still, a sudden awareness dawning as he sensed my gaze fixed over his shoulder. He pivoted with deliberate slowness. Mrs. Thomas Hale stood with her arms crossed, her expression devoid of emotion. Yet her eyes, they possessed a keen, analytical glint. "Is everything okay here?" she inquired, her tone unervingly serene. I instinctively took a step back. I was on the verge of departing. I slipped by them in silence, urgency propelling me toward the exit, yet my heart continued to race uncontrollably. Had she gathered sufficient courage to face him? Would she challenge me once more? I preferred to remain in ignorance. I believed that would mark the conclusion of the matter. Just as I extended my hand toward the door to exit the clinic, a hand rested gently on my shoulder. I pivoted, poised to respond. It was indeed her. Mrs. Thomas Hale. "Hold on," she murmured gently. I gazed at her, caught in a dilemma between fleeing and staying to hear her words. Yet, there was an unmistakable quality in her tone that rendered me motionless. "We need to talk," she said, motioning toward a vacant consultation room just a short distance away. With a sense of hesitation, I trailed behind her. Upon entering, she shut the door and pivoted to confront me, her face a mask of inscrutability. "I've noticed the way he gazes at you," she remarked. "I am well aware of his potential." My mouth felt parched. "What is the reason behind that?" "I'm not here to threaten you," she stated with conviction. "I am at your service." "What is this?" "I'm not the woman you believe I am," she continued. "Tom, my husband, harbors a shadowy aspect. He exerts influence over others, particularly women. I have witnessed him accomplish it previously. I have allowed it to pass without comment until this moment." I remained quiet. With a graceful motion, she retrieved a folder from her handbag and extended it toward me. Within lay photographs, documents, messages, elements that crafted a portrait of an individual I had never anticipated. She remarked that he had been engaged in this activity for years. Not merely nurses, but also colleagues, neighbors, and even a family friend. My hands quivered as I turned the pages, revealing the hidden contents within. "You see," she said, her voice regaining its calmness once more. "This transcends the boundaries of you and me. It revolves around dominance. He will continue on his path until someone intervenes." I raised my gaze. "What is the purpose of sharing all this with me?" With a graceful motion, she delved into her bag and retrieved a small silver key. "I seek your assistance in revealing the truth about him." "What is this?" "You already have one foot in the fire," she remarked. "Why not set it ablaze?" A wave of dizziness washed over me, the room swirling ever so slightly around me. Could she truly be serious? Could this be a cunning snare? Or had she genuinely finished embodying the ideal spouse? Just as I was about to respond, she swung the door open. "Consider it," she remarked as she exited. "However, do not linger too long. He is already strategizing his next move." There I stood, a folder clutched in one hand, a key dangling from the other, ensnared in a realm more profound and shadowy than I had ever envisioned. Now, I stood at a crossroads, faced with the choice to walk away and erase this chapter from my life or to remain and embrace whatever unfolded ahead. I appreciate your attention to the tale shared in this episode.